least one former world champion will return to Impact Wrestling on Saturday, July 18th, or as this story develops.
In 10 days' time, Impact Wrestling presents Slammiversary. It's their version of WrestleMania. It's their big spectacle event this year, topped off with a huge fatal four-way between Trey, Eddie Edwards, Ace Austin, and a mystery fourth competitor for the vacant Impact World title. And we know Impact Wrestling have been teasing for weeks that former WWE superstars, former Impact, former world champions will make their return at Slammiversary. And they notice they keep saying at least one. I've noticed. Now, if you want to watch Slammiversary, you can sign up to FITE TV. And of course, you can watch it there or traditional pay-per-view. And if you use the code on screen, and it is in the description, I get $10 credit. You get $10 credit on sign up. Everyone's a winner, and you can order Slammiversary and watch it live in its entirety on July 18th, the night before Extreme Rules. Now, I wanted to make this theory video because genuinely there's so many names being thrown around that it's super interesting to me as to who could potentially show up at Slammiversary. Talking of super, we recently saw this image. Of course, it's a cape with an E, and then we've got a mask in the background as well. And of course, we know that belongs to Eric Young. Of course, he went through the whole gimmick of Super Eric. And let's be honest, he bled TNA. Obviously, he left Impact. He went to NXT. He formed Sanity. People had a lot of high hopes for EY. And WWE really did drop the ball. And Eric Young was part of the recent releases from WWE. And I really hope, for one, he goes back to Impact Wrestling. Genuinely, okay, I enjoyed his work in WWE for what he did. But in Impact Wrestling, he was a megastar. He was huge. He's one of the best heels that Impact have ever produced. And of course, not only that, one of the best faces as well. Literally, the guy was a superhero. And people loved it. Eric Young as Super Eric was brilliant. Now, this next one may shock a few people, but how about Heath Slater? Now, of course, Heath Slater recently, literally this week, appeared on Monday Night Raw, but he's not under contract with WWE for much longer. This was part of his no complete clause, where he is under WWE contract still, but it does expire just before Slammiversary. And we've seen his former tag team partner, Rhino, who is in Impact, actually saying he does have a tag team partner. Well, the first person to come to mind is Heath Slater, of course, the free agent, as he called himself back then, and now in WWE, literally on Monday. So maybe we're going to see Heath Slater show up at Slammiversary, team with Rhino again, and maybe they could become the new faces of the tag team division. Why the hell not? Heath Slater literally proved on Monday with that promo what a huge talent that he can be, and how he's worthy of a huge contract somewhere. Why not? Now, the next name is the man they call Sting. And when you talk about someone who bleeds TNA, it's Sting. I know a lot of people look at Sting and think, obviously, WCW. Of course you do. But don't forget, he never went to WWE originally. When WCW closed, he joined TNA. He was with TNA on and off for literally years before finally going to WWE. Well, recently Mattel tried to bring out a Legends figure of Sting, and it had to be pulled. And as Ryan Satin reported, literally Sting is no longer under contract with WWE, though there is a chance the two parties may agree a merchandising deal in the future. Sting, for all intents purposes, has left WWE. A lot of people wondering who was going to go to AEW. Well, it's very likely he could show up in Impact. How about the Miracle? Mike Bennett, of course, formerly Mike Kanellis in WWE, someone else who was really a huge name in Ring of Honor and TNA. He went to WWE again. They dropped the ball. Could we see a Miracle at Slammiversary? I'd love to see it. Now, another thing Impact have been teasing recently is the Aces and Eights, one of the most known factions from Impact Wrestling / TNA history. Of course, it was led by Bully Ray. Bully Ray was working for Ring of Honor. Well, Bully Ray's Ring of Honor contract has expired. So, if D'Lo Brown and Impact are teasing Aces and Eights, is it not possible that the former leader of the Aces and Eights could show up at Slammiversary, of course, formerly known as well as Bubba Ray Dudley? How about Kurt freaking Angle? He's been seen on the Impact Wrestling videos. Kurt Angle, a huge Hall of Famer, one of the best of all time. And of course, I kind of think this one's unlikely. Kurt, could he wrestle full-time? Maybe not. Could he have one more match? More than likely. It's possible. But this one's huge. Of course, Gallows and Anderson. Sorry for the bad picture quality. It's literally screenshots from the Impact Wrestling video. But, of course, as you can see, they've actually apparently already signed with Impact Wrestling in a deal that will see them work with New Japan as well. We have seen Scott D'Amore, who's like management for Impact Wrestling, talking to the tag team champions, saying that Good Brothers were coming. He was on the phone to a couple of Good Brothers. That is, we assume, Gallows and Anderson, and with the fact it's already been leaked all over the internet that they have signed with Impact, expect to see them. How about EC3? Of course, formerly known as Derek Bateman in NXT. He left, he went away, he went to Impact. He made a huge name for himself as Ethan Carter III. Then he went back to WWE and he literally did nothing. It's a real shame. There is huge rumblings across the internet wrestling community that EC3 could potentially end up in Impact, and in a story with the TNA heavyweight champion Moose. Now that makes sense. Moose and EC3 were the last two men in the ring when EC3 made his final appearance, and Moose got a global championship match, whereas EC3 got fired in the Feast or Fired contract thing that they do. So potentially coming in, having a rivalry with the self-proclaimed TNA heavyweight champion of the world would make a lot of sense. And of course, it's a championship EC3 has held in the past. Why not go straight back into one of the biggest stories they have with Moose for the TNA heavyweight title? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see EC3 back. Now, other names Impact Wrestling have teased include the Cowboy, James Storm, Mr. Anderson, Chris Sabin, huge name from TNA's past. Of course, Kurt Hawkins, now Brian Myers, Austin Aries as well. As the man of the hour, Leo Rush, who's been posting on Instagram for a few days, sort of countdown clock that takes us right up to Slammiversary. Of course, his contract as well will be expiring around that time. So maybe Leo Rush, he'd be a perfect addition to Impact Wrestling's X division. He would be huge in Impact. Why not do it? But we've also been seeing this image. Of course, if you don't know what it is the Bulgarian flag. And when you think of Bulgarian wrestling, the Bulgarian brute, Rusev, comes to mind. Of course, they don't have any stock footage to use of Rusev, so it would make sense to just use the flag. Could Rusev be on his way to Impact Wrestling? I keep wanting to say TNA because I've said TNA quite a lot in this video. The one I'm most excited to see is, of course, EC3. Ethan Carter III, I think, is genuinely one of the most talented wrestlers of today. I think he's great on the mic, great in the ring. He was a huge deal in TNA, and then in WWE, they stupendously dropped the ball with him. And I hope he gets a huge spotlight put on him. And I hope Slammiversary delivers. I hope Impact Wrestling have really got this thought out. They have teased so many names that we've just gone through. And honestly, I don't think all of them will debut, but I think a huge number of them will. And I see this being the huge catalyst of change that Impact Wrestling needs to kind of get back into that mainstream, to be on the talking point of wrestling again. I mean, we are literally talking about it now. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as you always do. Make sure you like the video, share the video, and if you're not already, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications.
At least one former world champion. Former world champion. At least one world champion. make his return to Impact Wrestling on Saturday, July 18th.
I'll see you as always next time. Peace!